Hi everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review, and today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends 6-inch Invincible Iron Man figure from Hasbro. Now this figure comes packaged in the same style we've been seeing with all the Marvel Legends. You've got the Legends series logo up at the top. The figure's clearly displayed in the window box. Down below you've got the Invincible Iron Man name. At the very top you've got Iron Man symbol. On the sides of the packaging you have some artwork for Iron Man. And then on the back of the packaging you have a look at the actual figure, a brief bio in multiple languages, and then down below a look at all the figures in the wave that you need to get in order to complete the Build-A-Figure. Alright, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other contents. Now I should note this is the only figure in the wave that does not come with the Build-A-Figure piece. Okay, so first of all, the figure comes with two different pairs of hands. So you get a pair of hands where the right hand is open and the left hand is closed-fisted, and then you get a pair where the left hand is open and the right hand is closed-fisted. And of course you can mix and match these, so you can have a pair of hands where they're both closed-fisted or a pair of hands where they're both open. I like the detail on the hands. You've got the metallic gold on the fingers, and then you've got the red, and then up top, on the top of the hands, you've got some metallic silver with some blue, and you've got that on all the hands. So overall pretty nice detailing. And then with these open hands you do have the holes in them so that you can plug in the blast effects if you want to get that kind of repulsor blast effect going. And again, both of the open hands have those holes. One thing I do want to point out with the hands, especially with these open pair of hands, is on the gold, on the fingers, I do have a little bit of red bleeding through, and then on the underside, it's just the entire hand is just red. Now switching out the hands is easy with this figure. You just pop off the hand you want to replace, you got the little peg on the hand and the hole in the arm, and then you just plug in the hand you want to replace it with, and it should fit nice and tight. Also, I should note with these open hands, it doesn't look like you actually get hinges with these, so you don't get the up and down movement. They're basically, the pegs are sculpted so they're kind of at an angle so that it looks like he's holding his hands out to fire his repulsor blasts. And you can rotate the hands with the open ones, but you don't really get up and down movement. Now with the closed-fisted hands that come with the figure, those do have the hinges, so you do get the up and down movement with those. But again, with these open hands, it does not look like they have hinges. They're just basically posed so that you can have his hands kind of sticking outward. The figure also comes with this wrist cannon, which is something kind of unique to this version of the armor that he wears in the comics. So this is done with just a red plastic that matches the rest of the figure. And with this, it's got a hole in the front, so like with the open hands, you can stick in one of these blast effects. So we've seen these blast effects with other Iron Man figures. You've got that translucent plastic. It's more of a rubber material, and these definitely come out of the packaging a little bit warped, so you may need to take a hairdryer to them. And then you have the blast effects towards the end, and you can actually pull those off if you want to. So again, we've seen these multiple times with Iron Man figures, but you can not only attach it to the open hands, you can also attach it to this wrist cannon. You can also stick these blast effects into the bottom of his feet so it looks like he's flying. Now if you have the orange ones, they've done these in orange, those probably look better for his feet, but technically you can put these in the bottom of his feet if you want to. Now the cannon can snap on the wrist of either arm on the figure, the left or the right. I believe technically he wears it on the left arm in the comic book. I don't think he ever has it on the right. I could be wrong on that, but figure-wise you can put it on either the left or the right arm. Now you're better to use the closed fists on whichever arm you're going to snap it onto. It definitely works better with the closed fists. And I'm also very glad they made this cannon so it's removable, because I don't really like the look of this cannon. I don't think it looks very good. And like on the 4-inch version, they have that where it's not actually removable. So with the 6-inch, I'm glad they did make it so it is removable. And then finally, the figure has two different head sculpts. So we get the helmeted head, and this is a very unique looking helmet for Iron Man. It's very sleek and looks very aerodynamic. You've got the blue eyes with the gold plate, and then you've got the red for the rest of the helmet. And I think the helmet, the way they've sculpted it, looks pretty true to the comic book. And then you can just pop off this head. It attaches with a ball joint, a ball hinge joint, and then you can snap on the alternate head. And the alternate head is an unmasked Tony Stark head. Now this is a comic book version of Tony Stark. We've gotten unmasked movie versions, but I do think they've done a pretty nice job capturing the comic book look for him. He's got the hair, which actually kind of sticks out a bit here on the front, and it's done with all black, and then he's got the goatee with the blue eyes and everything. So overall skin tone is decent. And again, for a comic book head sculpt, I think they've done a pretty good job with this. And here's a comparison of the movie Tony Stark head sculpt Hasbro's done. And you can see I've got it stuck on the chameleon body, and just to give you an actual Tony Stark figure. Now, if you're wondering if you wanted basically a comic book Tony Stark figure, you can take this head sculpt, this comic book head sculpt, and you can stick it on this figure. Now, the ball on this particular figure is a little bit bigger than the hole in the head, so you might need to take a hairdryer and loosen up the plastic, or just really push it in really tight, but you can't actually get it to squeeze on there. And overall, I think it looks pretty good. So again, if you wanted just a complete Tony Stark comic book version, you could use this chameleon body with this head sculpt. Okay, so for the figure itself, I think Hasbro's done a pretty fair job of sculpting detail and capturing the likeness of the sleek new armor that he wears. Now, I'm not actually sure if this is the armor he's currently wearing, but it's definitely a more recent armor that he had. And like I said, it definitely has that kind of sleek look to it. So you've got the red, which is done with a pretty shiny red throughout the figure, and then you've got the metallic gold. And then underneath his neck here, you've got a lighter metallic type silver color. And then under his armpits here, you've got a darker gray color. You also have the darker gray here in his midsection in these 3 spots. You've got the blue on his unibeam or arc reactor, whatever you want to call it. And you actually have it sculpted in there and then painted, so I like that detailing. And you've got some nice sculpting detail on the back of the figure as well. Now, other than with the hands, those open hands where I had a little bit of red bleeding through the gold on the fingers, I don't really have that problem on the rest of the figure. Now, they did not paint this little peg here on the arm, or it should probably be gold, but that's not terribly unusual with a Marvel Legend. Same on this arm. But overall, you know, I think they've done a fair job of capturing that new armor with this figure. So if you're a fan of the new sleeker armor, I think this is definitely a figure you want to check out. So this figure actually has a pretty good height to it and stands about 6 3/4 inches tall. Here's a comparison with a couple other Hasbro Marvel Legend comic book based Iron Man figures, and you can see this new one is definitely taller. And then here's a comparison with the Jane Foster Thor and Falcon Cap, and again, Iron Man is the tallest of the 3, which I think is in pretty good scale with what we see in the comics. So for articulation on this figure, you can turn the head to the left and to the right. He can look down pretty good, and then he can look up pretty good as well for flight poses. He does have that ball hinge joint. Arms attached with your standard ball hinge joint there at the shoulder, so he can get his arm out pretty good. And he has good rotation. You get kind of a clicky noise there. He has a bicep swivel. He has a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. And then he has rotation at the wrists. As I mentioned before, with the closed fist, you do have the hinges, so you get the up and down movement with those, but not with the open hands. Then he has a midsection joint, so he can crunch down a little bit there. Again, you get that kind of clicky noise with that. And then he has a waist swivel, so he's got rotation there at the waist. Legs, he can do the splits about that much, and then he can get his leg up high really good, and he can do his leg out and back. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a double hinged knee, so good bending at the knee, and then he's got hinges on the feet, so up and down movement with the feet, and then he does have ankle pivot, and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I think this is a pretty nice Iron Man figure. Probably the nicest comic book based Iron Man figure that Hasbro has done to date. I like the size of it. The articulation is pretty good. The accessories work well. And overall, I think they did a good job of capturing the look of this version of the armor. So as I said before, if you're a fan of this armor, I think this is a figure you'll definitely want to check out. Now, this figure is available now. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. You can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.